The alarm started screaming across the Galactic Academy campus at exactly 9:47 in the morning. Every student heard the same message, warning, large unknown creature detected at main gate. Please stay in your rooms. Security is responding. Valkyra was in her advanced xenobiology class when it happened. She was a crystalline being from the planet Prismara. Her body looked like living glass that changed colors based on her mood. Right now she glowed a calm blue color. She had 14 degrees in different types of biology. She had never met a creature she could not classify and understand. Professor Killmoth, who looked like a large blob of purple jelly, slid toward the window. Everyone remained calm, he said in his bubbling voice. Security will handle this. But Valkyra was already looking at her datapad. The campus security system showed a video feed from the main gate. What she saw made her turn orange with stress. A massive four-legged beast walked through the gate. It had powerful legs, each ending in a hard hoof. Its body was covered in golden fur. Its eyes were large and positioned on the sides of its head like a prey animal. But its muscles suggested something that could kick hard enough to break bones. The security system measured it. 450 kilograms. Kick force, potentially lethal to 90% of known species. Next to the beast walked a young human male. He held a simple rope attached to the creature's head. He looked relaxed. Happy even. By the stars, whispered Thrix, an insect-like student who sat near Valkyra. Thrix spoke for 47 million minds of their hive collective back home. The human brought a war beast. Behind the human and the beast, a woman in professional clothes walked very fast. She was talking rapidly into a communication device. No, it's not dangerous. It's a horse. HORSE. It's domesticated. No, please don't send the military unit. I'm begging you. Valkyra knew who that was. Dr. Yoon Hye-jin, the only human professor at the academy. She had been here for 5 years, trying very hard to make other species understand that humans were not as scary as they seemed. It was not going well. The young human stopped walking. He looked around at the beautiful crystal buildings of the academy. He smiled. Then he reached out and patted the beast's neck. The beast made a soft sound and pushed its nose against the human's shoulder. Affectionate behavior between human and potential weapon, Thrix noted. Calculating threat level. This does not match any pattern in our database. Professor Killmoth turned from the window. His jelly-like body rippled with what might have been concern. Class dismissed. Return to your dormitories immediately. Valkyra, Thrix, please stay. The other students left quickly. Some of them were clearly scared. A small furry student named Zix actually fainted near the door. 2 others had to carry Zix out. When the room was empty except for Valkyra and Thrix, Professor Killmoth spoke again. I have been asked by Chancellor Cathara to create a special project. That creature down there needs to be classified, properly documented, studied. You two are my best students. I want you to lead this project. Valkyra felt excited. A new species to classify. This was exactly the kind of challenge she loved. I accept, she said immediately. Her color shifted to confident blue. Our collective also accepts, Thrix said. 47 million minds are already analyzing the available data. Good, Professor Killmoth said. Your final exam this semester will be based on this project. 1 question. Classify the beast. You have 4 months. 2 hours later, Valkyra stood outside the special containment area they had built for the creature. It was the most expensive animal enclosure ever constructed in the Academy's history. Force fields, monitoring systems, emergency barriers. It cost more than a small spaceship. Inside the containment area, the beast stood peacefully. It was eating dried grass from a pile on the ground. Just eating. Nothing threatening. Nothing aggressive. The young human sat on the fence nearby. He saw Valkyra and waved. Hello. You must be one of my new classmates. I'm Kang Dae-ho. This is Bob. The beast's name was Bob. I am Valkyra, she managed to say. I am studying xenobiology. You're Bob. He will be part of my research project. Oh, that's great. Dae-ho looked genuinely happy. Bob loves meeting new people. Do you want to pet him? Pet him? Touch the massive creature that could kill her with 1 kick? Valkyra turned orange. I know, perhaps later. For now, I will observe from here. Sure, no problem. Dae-ho jumped down from the fence and walked over to Bob. He reached into his pocket and pulled out something round and red. Here you go, buddy. Apple time. Bob took the apple gently from Dae-ho's hand. His large teeth crunched through it. Then he pushed his head against Dae-ho's chest, making happy sounds. Deho laughed and scratched behind Bob's ears. The beast closed its eyes and leaned into the touch. Valkyra recorded everything with her scanning equipment. The data made no sense. The beast's body language showed complete trust. No aggression, no fear. The human showed no defensive posture. No weapons. No control collar, just friendship? What is Bob? She asked carefully. He's a horse, Deho said, as if this explained everything. Halflinger breed. Very gentle. I raised him from a foal back on my family's farm in Korea. Horse, Valkyra repeated. She searched the galactic database. The entry for horse was brief. Earth species. Equus caballus. Domesticated herbivore, used by humans for transportation and labor. That was it. This massive creature with lethal kick force was listed simply as a domesticated herbivore. The database had to be wrong. Why did you bring him here? Valkyra asked. Deho smiled. I get anxious sometimes. Being far from home, studying in a completely new place, Bob helps me feel calm. He's my emotional support animal. The academy said I could bring him. Emotional support? This creature that could be a weapon was here to make the human feel better? Valkyra needed to talk to Thrix. Immediately. She found Thrix in the analysis lab, surrounded by holographic displays of data. The insect being's antennae twitched rapidly. 47 million minds cannot agree, Thrix said. 23 million classify Bob as a predator based on size and muscle structure. 24 million classify him as prey based on eye position and teeth design. The remaining million have started betting on the outcome. It gets stranger, Valkyra said. She shared her recordings from the meeting with Deho. The human says Bob is here for emotional support. To make the human feel calm. Thrix was silent for a long moment. All 47 million minds processing this information. Finally, Thrix spoke. We need more data. Much more data. That night, Valkyra could not rest. She kept thinking about the way Bob had eaten his apple. The way he had leaned into Deho's touch. The complete absence of fear or aggression. She pulled up everything the galactic database had about Earth and its creatures. What she found made her turn orange again. Humans had domesticated hundreds of species, predators, prey animals, birds, even some insects. They lived with these creatures, kept them in their homes, treated them like family. There was an image of a human child sleeping next to a large furry predator with huge teeth. The caption said, "My dog Rex and me dog." She looked that up too. Canis familiaris, domesticated from wolves. Apex predators modified through thousands of years of selective breeding. Humans had taken apex predators and made them into pets. Valkyra turned a color she had never been before. Not quite orange stress, not quite blue confidence, something in between. Confusion mixed with fascination. She had a feeling this research project was going to be much more complicated than she thought. Classifying Bob might be impossible using normal methods, because Bob was not a normal specimen. He was a friend, and Valkyra had no classification system for that. Valkyra arrived at Bob's enclosure at exactly 6 in the morning. She wanted to observe his natural behavior before Deho came to visit. She had 17 different scanning devices set up around the area. Everything would be recorded and measured. Bob was sleeping. Standing up, Valkyra made a note. Subject sleeps in vertical position. Remains alert even during rest. Clear adaptation for constant threat awareness. Thrix arrived a few minutes later. Our collective analysis agrees. This standing sleep pattern indicates a prey species that must be ready to flee at any moment. But the muscle structure indicates a species capable of significant violence. The contradiction is problematic. Bob woke up. He yawned, showing large flat teeth designed for grinding plant matter. Then he walked over to his pile of hay and started eating. He ate slowly, peacefully, not watching for threats, just eating. Energy consumption patterns appear inefficient, Thrix noted. For a creature of this size and muscle mass, hay should not provide adequate nutrition. Valkyra agreed. Her scanners showed the same thing. Bob ate simple grass. Grass! No protein supplements. No nutrient enhancement. Just dried grass. And yet he was healthy, strong, his coat shined. His eyes were bright and alert. Good morning. Deho's cheerful voice made both researchers jump. The human had arrived carrying several items. A large brush, a metal pick with a handle, a bucket of what smelled like grain. "Oh, you're here early," Deho said with a smile. "Perfect timing. You can watch me do Bob's morning routine. I do this every day." Deho entered the enclosure. Bob immediately walked over to him, making a soft sound. Dayho laughed and scratched Bob's forehead. "Hey, buddy. Ready for breakfast?" He poured the grain into a feeding container. Bob ate it happily. While Bob ate, Dayho picked up the brush and started brushing Bob's coat. Long, smooth strokes. Bob's eyes half closed with pleasure. "This is called grooming," Dayho explained. "It keeps his coat healthy and helps us bond. Horses are social animals. In the wild, they groom each other." Valkyra recorded everything. Social grooming, pack bonding behavior. The human was establishing dominance through kindness. Then Dayho did something that made both researchers back away in alarm. He walked behind Bob, directly behind him. "In the kick zone." "No." Valkyra's voice came out as a pulse of orange light. "That position is dangerous." Dayho looked confused. "Dangerous? Oh, you mean because he could kick me?" "Bob wouldn't do that. We trust each other." He patted Bob's rear leg. "Besides, I need to be back here to clean his hooves." He bent down and picked up Bob's back leg. Bob lifted it willingly. Dayho used the metal pick to clean dirt and debris from the hoof. Bob just stood there, calm, relaxed, not even slightly bothered. "Our collective is experiencing significant distress," Thrick said quietly. 47 million minds cannot comprehend what we are witnessing." Dayho moved to the other back leg. "Same process." Then the front legs. For each hoof, Bob lifted his leg when Dayho touched it. No resistance. Complete cooperation. Finally, Dayho did something even more shocking. He opened Bob's mouth, put his hand inside, looked at Bob's teeth. His teeth looked good. Dayho announced happily. "No sharp points. That's important. Sharp teeth can hurt their mouth when they chew." Bob closed his mouth gently when Dayho removed his hand. Then Bob nuzzled Dayho's pocket, clearly looking for something. Okay, you found me out." Dayho pulled out a carrot. Bob crunched it happily. "You're so smart, buddy." Valkyra turned to Thrix. "Did you record all of that?" "Every moment," Thrix confirmed. "Our analysis teams are in complete disagreement. Some insist the human has some form of telepathic control. Others believe Bob has been genetically modified for obedience. A small faction believes the human has a death wish." Dayho left the enclosure and walked over to them. "Do you have any questions? I'm happy to help with your research." Valkyra had about 800 questions. She started with the most important one. "How did you tame Bob?" "Tame?" Dayho looked thoughtful. "I guess I wouldn't use that word. We don't really tame horses anymore. We train them, build trust with them. Bob and I have known each other since he was born. I was there when his mother gave birth to him. I fed him bottles when he was a baby. We grew up together, but he is dangerous," Thrick said. "Our measurements show his kick force could break bones." "Well, yeah," Dayho agreed. "A horse could definitely hurt someone if it wanted to. But Bob doesn't want to hurt anyone. He's gentle. That's just his personality." Personality. The human was attributing personality to the creature. "What does Bob do?" Valkyra asked. "What is his function?" Dayho laughed. "His function? He's not a tool. He's my friend. Back home, I would ride him around the farm. Sometimes we'd go on trail rides through the mountains. Mostly, he just keeps me company. It's nice to have him around, friend." There was that word again. The human kept using it. After Dayho left for his morning classes, Valkyra and Thrick spent 6 hours analyzing the data. Nothing made sense. Every classification system they tried failed. Zix arrived in the afternoon. The small furry student had volunteered to help with the research, though Zix kept a safe distance from Bob's enclosure. As a prey species from the planet Meadowfall, Zix was instinctively terrified of anything larger than a small dog. "I have been researching Earth's history," Zix said nervously. "I think I may have discovered something important." Zix pulled up a holographic display. It showed a timeline of Earth's history. Humans began domesticating animals approximately 40,000 years ago. Their first domesticated species was the wolf, an apex predator. Valkyra felt herself turning orange. They domesticated predators first? That is backwards. Every species that develops technology domesticates food animals first. For safety. Exactly, Zix said. But humans did it backwards. They befriended the predators, made them into allies. Then they domesticated prey animals. Then they used the predators to help hunt and guard the prey animals. It is brilliant and terrifying. Thrix's antennae twitched rapidly. Our collective has reached a preliminary conclusion. Humans did not conquer nature through force. They conquered it through friendship. They weaponized empathy. The three researchers stared at each other. Then they all looked at Bob, who was rolling on his back in the dirt, legs kicking in the air, looking completely ridiculous and not at all threatening. "We need to understand domestication," Valkyra said. "Not just Bob, the entire concept. Because I think that is what we are really studying here." That evening, Valkyra attended a meeting with Professor Killmoth and Chancellor Cathara. The Chancellor looked stressed. All 8 of her tentacles were moving in agitated patterns. "The Galactic Council is asking questions," Cathara said. "Why did we allow a human to bring a potentially dangerous creature to campus? I need answers." "With respect, Chancellor," Valkyra said carefully, "I do not think Bob is the real issue. The issue is that we do not understand the relationship between humans and other species. Our classification systems are inadequate." Professor Killmoth rippled in agreement. "I have been studying the galactic database. No other species has developed what humans call domestication. Not like this. We use technology to control animals, neural implants, genetic modification, force fields. But humans, they just ask nicely, and it works." Chancellor Cathara was quiet for a long moment. Finally, she spoke. "Continue your research, and Valkyra, find out how they do it. If humans can form partnerships with other species without technology, that knowledge could change everything." Valkyra left the meeting feeling determined. She was not just studying Bob anymore. She was studying the possibility of friendship across species lines, something her people had never imagined possible. She returned to Bob's enclosure one more time before going to her dormitory. The sun was setting. Bob stood in the golden light, eating hay peacefully. Deho sat on the fence watching him with obvious affection. It looked nice, peaceful, like they both belonged there together. Valkyra slowly shifted from orange stress to a new color. Purple. The color of curiosity and wonder. Maybe, just maybe, she could learn something valuable here. Something more important than classification. She could learn how to be a friend. Dr. Yoon Hee-jin stood in front of a lecture hall filled with 300 students. Half were there in person. The other half attended remotely from their home planets. Everyone wanted to hear her special lecture, Understanding Human-Animal Bonds. She took a drink of coffee. Her 5th cup today, being the only human professor at an alien university, was exhausting. "Thank you all for coming," she began. "I know you have many questions about Bob, about Deho, about why humans seem to have such strange relationships with other species. Today I will try to explain." She pulled up an image. A wolf and a small fluffy dog side by side. These two animals are the same species. Canis lupus and Canis familiaris. The wolf is what dogs used to be. About 40,000 years ago, some wolves began living near human settlements. They ate our garbage. Over time, the wolves that were less afraid of humans survived better. They had more puppies. Eventually, we had dogs. A tentacle raised in the audience. "But Professor, why did humans allow predators near their homes? That seems dangerous." Dr. Yoon smiled. "Because humans saw an opportunity. These wolves could help us hunt. They could warn us about other predators. They could keep our camp safe. So we fed them, protected them, and over thousands of years we became partners." She showed another image. A cat sleeping on a person's lap. Cats domesticated themselves. They came to our farms because we had mice. We were happy to have them, because they killed the mice that ate our grain. Everyone benefited. More images appeared. Cows, sheep, chickens, horses. Each with a brief explanation of why humans domesticated them and how both species benefited. "The important thing to understand," Dr. Yoon said, "is that domestication is not slavery. It is partnership. We take care of animals. They help us. Over time, we form bonds, emotional connections. We learn to communicate without words. We understand each other." Valkyra, sitting in the front row, raised a crystalline appendage. "But how do you communicate with them?" "They cannot speak." "Body language," Dr. Yoon explained. "Animals communicate all the time. Through posture, facial expressions, sounds. Humans learn to read these signals. A dog's wagging tail means happiness. A cat's purr means contentment. A horse's ear position tells us their mood. We pay attention, we learn, we respond." She showed a video of a human approaching a nervous horse. The human moved slowly, spoke softly, extended a hand for the horse to smell, waited patiently. Eventually, the horse stepped forward and touched its nose to the human's hand. Trust established. This is how we do it, Dr. Yoon said. Patience, respect, kindness, we do not force. We invite, we wait. We earn trust. A small voice from the back asked. But what if they say no? Dr. Yoon nodded. Then we accept that. Not every animal wants to be around humans. Not every horse likes being ridden. Not every dog wants to be petted. We respect their boundaries. That is part of the relationship. She showed one final image. A toddler hugging a massive dog. Both looked happy, safe, content. This is what we build. Not through force or technology. Through love, trust, friendship. That is humanity's gift to other species. And their gift to us. The lecture hall was completely silent. Then, slowly, every species present gave their version of applause. Tentacles waving, wings fluttering, lights pulsing, antennae vibrating. After the lecture, Valkyra approached Dr. Yoon. Professor, may I ask you something personal? Of course. Do you have an animal companion? Dr. Yoon's face softened. I have 2 cats back home on Earth, Miso and Kimchi. I miss them terribly. When I video call my family, the cats usually ignore me, but sometimes they come close to the screen. Like they remember my voice. Those moments make me very happy. Valkyra turned purple. She was beginning to understand. This was not about control or utility. This was about connection, about sharing life with other beings, about caring for something beyond yourself. The next day, Daeho agreed to give a practical demonstration. The entire advanced xenobiology class gathered at Bob's enclosure. Security stood by just in case. Half the campus was watching remotely. Daeho entered the enclosure with Bob. Okay, so today I thought I would show you how I trained Bob. Or really, how we learned to work together. He held up a hand. Bob stopped walking. That's a basic cue. I taught him that when he was young. If I raise my hand, he stops moving. He made a clicking sound with his tongue. Bob walked forward. Another hand signal. Bob turned left. A different signal. Bob backed up. These are simple commands, Daeho explained. Bob learned them because I rewarded him when he did them correctly. Treats, scratches, praise, positive reinforcement. Thrix's voice came through a speaker. The hive mind representative was maintaining a safe distance. What if Bob refuses to obey? Then I figure out why, Daeho said. Maybe he is scared. Maybe he does not understand. Maybe he is tired or uncomfortable. I do not punish him. I try to understand and adjust my approach. He demonstrated mounting Bob, getting on his back. Bob stood calmly. Daeho sat there for a moment, then dismounted. See? He lets me ride because we trust each other. I have never hurt him. He knows I will not ask him to do something dangerous or painful. Zix, watching from behind a protective barrier, spoke up timidly. May I ask a question? Sure. What does Bob think about you? Daeho smiled. That is a good question. I think Bob sees me as part of his herd. Horses are social animals. They need companionship. In the wild, they live in groups. I am his group now. His family. I think he feels safe with me. Happy. At least I hope he does. As if to confirm this, Bob walked over to Daeho and rested his head on Daeho's shoulder. Daeho hugged Bob's neck. Bob made a soft, contented sound. Several students made emotional sounds. Even Thrix's hive mind seemed moved. 47 million minds agree. This is beautiful. Valkyra floated closer to the enclosure. Daeho, may I try to approach Bob? Of course. Just move slowly. Let him smell you first, and pay attention to his body language. If his ears go back or he moves away, give him space. Valkyra entered the enclosure. Her crystalline body pulsed with nervous purple light. She approached Bob carefully, slowly. Bob watched her with calm eyes. She extended a crystalline appendage. Bob lowered his head and sniffed it. His ears were forward, relaxed, curious. He is comfortable with you, Daeho said quietly. You can touch his neck if you want. Valkyra gently touched Bob's neck. His coat was soft, warm. Bob did not move away. He just stood there accepting her touch. Something changed in Valkyra at that moment. For weeks she had been trying to classify Bob, to fit him into categories, predator or prey, threat or resource. But now, touching him, feeling the warmth of living creature, She understood. Bob was not a category. He was an individual, with thoughts and feelings and preferences. He was not a beast. He was Bob. And he was exactly what Deho said he was, a friend. That evening, Valkyra worked on her research report. She had hundreds of pages of data, measurements, observations, analysis. But when she tried to write her conclusion, she found herself stuck. Every classification system failed because they all tried to reduce Bob to a simple category. But Bob was not simple. He was complex, unique, individual. She pulled up images from Earth's database again. Dogs in every size and shape, all the same species. Cats lounging in windows. Horses running free in fields. Humans and animals living together. Working together. Playing together. Loving each other. Her people had never experienced this. Crystalline beings did not form bonds with other species. They did not have pets or animal companions. They observed nature from a distance, studied it scientifically, but never connected with it. Humans were different. Humans looked at other creatures and saw potential friends. They extended empathy across species boundaries. They cared about animals not just as resources, but as individuals worthy of kindness and respect. This was humanity's true power. Not their technology, not their weapons, their ability to form connections, to build relationships, to love. Valkyra began typing her new conclusion. Not a classification, not a threat assessment, something different. Subject designation, Bob, species, equus caballus, classification friend. Recommendation. We have much to learn from human approaches to interspecies relations. Perhaps it is time we stopped trying to control nature and started trying to understand it. She sat back, glowing bright purple, the color of understanding, the color of wonder, the color of someone who had learned something that would change her forever. She had learned how to see the universe through different eyes. Through human eyes, eyes that looked at other beings and saw friends waiting to be made. And for the first time in her life, Valkyra understood what it meant to care about someone who was completely different from herself. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light travel. A small academic paper by a furry student named Zix became the most downloaded document in galactic history. The title was simple: Domestication: How Humans Partnered with Nature Instead of Conquering It. Universities on hundreds of planets requested copies. Military strategists studied it. Philosophers debated its implications. Everyone wanted to understand how one species had achieved what no other had managed. At the Galactic Academy, things had changed. Students no longer ran away when they saw Bob. Instead, they gathered to watch him, to observe his interactions with Deho, to try to understand the mysterious bond between human and horse. Professor Killmoth called a special meeting of the faculty. "The Galactic Council has made a decision," he announced. "They want us to create a new department, the Department of Domestication and Interspecies Relations. Dr. Yoon will lead it." Dr. Yoon nearly dropped her coffee cup. "A whole department? Are you serious?" Chancellor Cathara waved a tentacle. "Very serious. We have received over 10,000 applications from students across the galaxy. They all want to learn human methods of animal partnership. This could change how every species interacts with their home worlds." "But I am just one person, Doctor," Yoon protested. "You will have help," Professor Killmoth said. "We are bringing more human experts, animal trainers, veterinarians, ethologists, and Deho has agreed to be a teaching assistant." Deho, sitting in the corner of the room, looked surprised. You did, Dr. Yoon said with a tired smile. "Or you will, once I explain how important this is." Later that week, Deho was helping a graduate student with a problem. The student, a being covered in scales, had a research animal that had become aggressive. It was a large predator from the student's home world. The student could not get near it anymore. "It is scheduled to be put down," the student said sadly. "It is too dangerous. I have failed." Deho studied the creature through the observation window. It paced back and forth in its enclosure. Its movements were agitated, stressed. But when Deho looked closer, he saw something else. The way it stayed in the far corner. The way it kept its back to the wall. "It is not aggressive," Deho said. "It is scared." "Scared?" but it attacks anyone who enters. Defensive attacks, Deho corrected. There is a difference. Look at its body language. It is trying to protect itself. It feels trapped. Can you help it? Deho thought for a moment. Maybe, but we need to go slow, build trust. Can I try? Over the next 2 weeks, Deho worked with the creature. He never entered its space. He just sat outside the enclosure. At first, he simply existed there, reading books, eating lunch, not threatening, not demanding, just being present. Valkyra observed the entire process. She recorded everything. She was fascinated by Deho's patience. Most researchers wanted quick results, fast data, but Deho understood that trust took time. After 3 days, the creature stopped pacing when Deho arrived. After a week, it started watching him with curiosity instead of fear. After 2 weeks, it approached the barrier when Deho brought food. You can try entering now, Deho told the graduate student. But move slowly. No sudden movements. Let it approach you. Do not chase it. The student entered nervously. The creature watched, but did not attack. The student sat down on the ground. Waited. After 10 minutes, the creature took a step closer. Then another. Finally, it sniffed the student's extended hand. The student started crying. It has been 3 months since I could do this. Thank you. Thank you so much. Word of this success spread quickly. Soon, other students were asking Deho for help. Research animals that would not cooperate. Zoo creatures that seemed depressed. Even some campus maintenance animals that had behavioral problems. Deho helped them all. Sometimes his methods worked. Sometimes they did not. But he always approached each situation with the same philosophy. Respect the animal, understand its needs, build trust. Thrix's hive mind was having an interesting experience. After learning about domestication, the collective decided to try it on their home world. They chose their planet's apex predator, a large, fierce creature that had killed many of their people over the years. They started with the method Deho taught them: patience, respect, positive reinforcement. They left food near the creature's territory. They spoke to it in gentle sounds. They never threatened or chased. It took months, but slowly, the creature began to trust them. It started approaching when they called. It accepted food from their manipulator appendages. It even allowed them to touch it. Thrix reported this progress to the class. 47 million minds are amazed. For generations, we killed these creatures when they came near our colonies. Now we understand we could have been friends instead. We wasted so much time being afraid. Valkyra had her own revelation. She had been studying Bob for 3 months now. She knew his daily routine, his favorite treats, his preferred scratching spots. She could read his mood from the position of his ears. One afternoon, she was observing Bob when she noticed something wrong. He was shifting his weight oddly, keeping pressure off his left front leg. His ears were slightly back. She immediately sent a message to Deho. Come quickly, something is wrong with Bob. Deho arrived within minutes. He checked Bob carefully and found a small stone bruise developing in the hoof. Good catch, he told Valkyra. If we had not noticed this early, it could have become serious. How did you know? His body language, Valkyra said, glowing purple with pride. He told me he was uncomfortable. Deho smiled. You are learning to speak horse. That is amazing. Valkyra realized he was right. She had learned a new language, not words but meanings. She could understand Bob. And more importantly, she cared about Bob. His comfort mattered to her. His happiness mattered to her. She had formed an emotional bond with another species, something her people never did, something she never thought possible. The semester was ending soon. Final exams approached, but the real test had already happened. Every student in the xenobiology class had changed. They saw animals differently now. They understood that life was not about categories and classifications. It was about connections and understanding. Even Zix, who had fainted so many times at the beginning of the semester, could now stand near Bob without fear. Zix had even written a second paper about overcoming instinctive prey responses through understanding and exposure. One evening, the entire class gathered at Bob's enclosure for an informal celebration. They brought treats for Bob, carrots and apples from the hydroponics lab. Bob accepted treats from everyone, even eating a carrot from Zix's tiny paw. Professor Killmoth watched from nearby. His jelly-like form rippled with what might have been happiness. You have all learned something valuable this semester, something more important than any classification system. You have learned empathy. Dr. Yoon stood next to him, drinking her usual coffee. They learned what humans have always known, that the universe is full of potential friends. You just have to be brave enough to say hello. Dae-ho sat on the fence, watching his classmates interact with Bob. He had not expected any of this when he arrived at the academy. He just wanted to study alien farming methods and bring his horse for company. He never imagined he would teach an entire institution about friendship. But looking at Valkyra gently touching Bob's neck, at Thrix reporting on their predator befriending, Project at Zix bravely standing close to a creature that once terrified them, Dae-ho felt proud. Not proud of himself, proud of them. They had overcome their fears, challenged their assumptions, opened their minds to new possibilities. They had learned to see the universe through human eyes. Eyes that looked at Bob and saw not a beast, but a friend. Eyes that looked at differences and saw opportunities for connection. Bob finished his treats and walked over to his favorite spot. He laid down in the soft grass, content and peaceful. Around him, beings from a dozen different worlds watched with affection and understanding. He was just Bob, he liked hay, and he had changed the galaxy. The day of the final exam arrived. The main lecture hall was packed, not just with students from the advanced xenobiology class, but with professors, administrators, and remote attendees from across the galaxy. Everyone wanted to see how the students would answer the famous question. Outside, Bob grazed peacefully in a temporary enclosure visible through the large windows. He had no idea he was the subject of one of the most anticipated academic presentations in galactic history. Professor Killmoth floated to the front of the hall. His jelly-like body rippled as he spoke. Thank you all for coming. Today our students will present their final projects. 4 months ago I gave them a simple question. Classify the beast. What they discovered changed not just this class, but our entire understanding of interspecies relations. He gestured to the first student. Thrix, please begin. Thrix's insectoid form moved to the presentation platform. Our collective has analyzed subject Bob from every possible angle. Military threat assessment, predator-prey dynamics, energy efficiency calculations. Every analysis produced contradictory results. Holographic displays showed charts and graphs. All of them ended with question marks and error messages. Our conclusion: Bob cannot be classified using traditional military or biological frameworks. He exists in a category we never considered. Willing partner. 47 million minds agree. We have spent centuries trying to control nature through force. Humans showed us a better way. Partnership through trust. Thrix's presentation ended with an image of the apex predator from their home world, now peacefully coexisting with their hive. We have begun domestication programs on our world. Success rate is promising. We owe this knowledge to Bob and to Dae-ho. Zix presented next. The small furry student no longer trembled when speaking. I am a prey species. Everything in my evolution tells me to fear large animals. At the start of this semester, I fainted regularly. Bob terrified me. Zix pulled up a video of that first day. The image of Zix fainting at the sight of Bob made the audience laugh gently. But I learned something important. Fear is based on assumption. I assumed Bob was dangerous because he was large. I never considered he might be gentle, kind, peaceful. By the end of the semester, I could stand next to Bob. I even fed him treats. My instincts still tell me to run, but my mind tells me to trust, and trust won. Zix's presentation concluded with a simple statement. Classification. Bob is a teacher. He taught us that fear can be overcome through understanding. Several other students presented. Each had a different perspective. Each had learned something unique, but all reached similar conclusions. Traditional classification systems were inadequate for understanding domesticated animals. Finally, It was Valkyra's turn. She floated to the front, glowing a confident purple color. Her presentation was titled simply, "That's just Bob. He likes hay." When I started this project, I had 14 degrees in classification systems. I was certain I could categorize any creature in the known universe. I was wrong. She showed her initial data, pages and pages of measurements, threat assessments, behavioral analyses. I tried every system: predator-prey dynamics, energy efficiency models, social hierarchy structures. None of them worked. Every system failed because they all tried to reduce Bob to a simple category. Then I realized the problem. I was asking the wrong question. I should not have been asking what Bob is. I should have been asking who Bob is. She pulled up a new image. Bob and Deho together, foreheads touching, both peaceful. Bob is an individual. He has preferences: apple over carrots, neck scratches over back scratches, morning grazing over evening grazing. He has emotions, happiness, contentment, curiosity. He has relationships. His bond with Deho is built on years of trust and care. Humans understand this naturally. They do not see animals as categories. They see them as individuals, as potential friends. This is not a weakness. It is their greatest strength. Valkyra turned to face the audience directly. For millions of years, species across the galaxy have tried to conquer nature, to control it, to dominate it. But humans took a different path. They befriended nature. They looked at wolves and saw companions. They looked at wild horses and saw partners. They extended empathy across species boundaries. This is humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not their technology, not their weapons. Their ability to form connections, to build relationships based on trust and mutual benefit, to love beings completely different from themselves. She paused, then showed her final slide. Classification? Unclassifiable. Because Bob is not a specimen to be studied.
He is Bob. He likes hay.
He likes apples. He likes his human, and that is all the classification he needs. The hall was silent for a long moment. Then every being present offered their species form of applause. Tentacles waved. Wings fluttered. Lights pulsed. Antennae vibrated. The sound was overwhelming. Professor Killmoth rippled forward. Excellent presentations. All of you pass. More importantly, all of you have learned something that will change how you approach xenobiology for the rest of your careers. You have learned to see with empathy. Chancellor Cathara stood, all 8 tentacles moving in harmony. I have an announcement. The Galactic Council has officially recognized domestication studies as a new field of science. Dr. Yoon's department will open next semester with 50 students. Applications came from 400 planets. She turned to Deho, who had been sitting quietly in the audience. Deho, would you be willing to continue as a teaching assistant? Your practical knowledge is invaluable. Deho stood, looking slightly overwhelmed. Yes, I would be honored. But I should tell you, I was thinking of bringing my dog next semester for emotional support. His name is Bekdu. There was a collective pause. Then Thrick spoke up. We know what dogs are now. Domesticated wolves, apex predators who became humanity's friends. Our collective votes, yes. Bring the dog. All in favor? Chancellor Cathara asked. Every appendage, wing, and tentacle in the room went up. Motion approved, Cathara said with what might have been amusement. But please, Deho, send us information about Bekdu in advance, so we can prepare. After the presentations, everyone gathered outside around Bob's enclosure. It had become tradition. The end of semester celebration always included time with Bob. Students brought treats. Bob accepted them from everyone, his gentle nature unchanged by all the attention. He was still just Bob, still liked hay, still trusted his humans and tolerated the strange crystalline, furry, and tentacled beings who wanted to pet him. Valkyra stood next to Deho, both watching the scene. Thank you, she said quietly, for teaching me to see differently. I did not teach you anything, Deho replied with a smile. Bob did. He just existed, being himself. You learned by paying attention. I learned more than animal behavior, Valkyra said. I learned about friendship, about trust, about caring for someone different from myself. My people do not have this. We do not bond with other species. But now I understand what we have been missing. She glowed bright purple. When I return home, I want to start a program, teaching my people what I learned here. Maybe we can have our own version of domestication, our own partnerships with other species. That would be amazing, Deho said. Bob would be proud. As if hearing his name, Bob walked over and pushed his nose against Daeho's shoulder. Daeho laughed and scratched behind Bob's ears. Bob's eyes half closed with contentment. Dr. Yoon joined them, her ever-present coffee cup in hand. You know, when you first told me you wanted to bring your horse to an alien university, I thought it was the worst idea ever. And now? Daeho asked. She smiled. Now I think it might be the most important thing that ever happened to this institution. Bob did more for human-alien relations in 4 months than I did in 5 years. The sun was setting. The campus glowed with bioluminescent lighting. Students from a dozen different worlds gathered around one peaceful horse. No fear, no threat assessments, just beings from across the galaxy, connected by their shared affection for Bob. It was a small moment. Just one horse and his friends on one planet in a vast galaxy, but it represented something huge. A shift in how species viewed each other, a new understanding that differences could be bridges instead of walls. Bob yawned, showing his large flat teeth. Then he walked to his favorite sleeping spot and laid down. Within minutes he was asleep, completely unconcerned with the fact that he had changed galactic history. Because he was just Bob. He liked hay. He liked apples. He liked his human. And he liked his new friends, even if they were a bit strange. And really, when you thought about it, that was all that mattered.